So we need to check the big board. Let's survey the damage. 30 minutes or so. Well, we've pulled back a bit from the lows of the session, off over 500, but the Dow's still deeply unhappy. The list of fears plaguing Wall Street keeps growing. You've got the Fed hike, you've got trade tensions, and now a government shutdown, all weighing on investors' minds. I'm joined by Jean-Yves Fillion, the CEO of BNP Paribas USA. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Which of those nasties are you most worried about?
Well, two things, Richard. The US economy is doing extremely well, but in the meantime, you have a series of factors, events that are bringing uncertainty and volatility. US economy, longest expansion for a long time. The job status, the expansion, the consumer confidence, the liquidity of the global markets here is amazing. In the meantime, you have a series of situations building up. You mentioned it, trade, government shutdown, outside of the US, Brexit, some idiosyncratic situations, Italy and so on. This is what really influences what's happening here as well.
Mohamed Al-Arian on this program yesterday said he's most worried about Europe. And you might have heard some of the other people talking. People say Europe is going to be the difficult area. Now, I know you're responsible for the US, but you may be the only engine that's really pulling the BNP Paribas bus along.
Same concept. If you look at the metrics of the Eurozone, it's been growing at almost 2% this year. The consumer confidence, the corporate fabric is pretty vibrant there. And the ECB has done pretty much what the Fed has been doing here for many years, which is providing QE, which is keeping rates low, and using the balance sheet.
But Europe's in trouble.
The main difference between Europe and the US, it's actually on the global market side. You have a country here which is very disintermediated, which, funding is coming mainly from the global markets. It's very efficient, it's transparent. What Europe has to continue to build is more securitization, more access to capital market to provide more sustainable growth.
But BNP Paribas, which you have a very sizable operation over here, particularly retail and wholesale, and you're well in a good position to talk on both sides. The US, do you expect your US business to grow next year?
Actually, it's been growing quite significantly over the last few years, particularly this year, capitalizing on still a good economy. We expect it to continue to grow because our business model in the United States is very diversified. We own retail on the West Coast, Bank of the West, very focused in a key state, California, providing funding to individuals, small entrepreneurs, small cap, mid caps, and our wholesale activity based in New York has been very active at supporting the large US company in their capital raising in the Eurobond where we lead. It's been very beneficial.
Why'd you bother with the retail side in California? I mean, it must just be a bloody nuisance.
Well, two things. When you want to belong to a community, to a country, you have to be part of the fabric. Bank of the West is really part of the community. It makes us really part of the US environment. And actually, we've found a lot of synergies between corporate retail and our investment banking activity here in New York.
So we need to look at France. And yes, well, you're right. How much of a difficult situation is France in? And the economic results or consequences of the riots currently underway, the yellow jackets, orange vests, how much do you expect to come from this?
Well, first and foremost, I think you bring a very important point here. The situation, the social, I would say, challenge that, the world is facing here, France is no exception, is something the government is taking very seriously, and I think they are taking actions. You cannot have, I would say, expansion and sustainable expansion if you don't have social stability. I was traveling last week in Mexico, in Brazil, across Europe. This is not idiosyncratic to France. And I think the world has to really reflect on wealth allocation and maybe wealth redistribution to keep this going.
Right, but the difference being France's President Macron is trying massive industrial and societal reform, and he is meeting exactly the opposition that everybody said he would get.
I think you are very good with metrics, Richard. The impact of the riots, there will be some very limited for the current quarter, absolutely, but our prediction for the next year, as long as we manage to, get this back to stability, should be de minimis. And France actually will continue to grow. It's an innovative country and a vibrant corporate fabric here with a good sense of expectations.
Final question, just how many miles do you think you fly a year? I mean, just listening to you then, I mean, you must be always on a plane.
Like you, actually, probably over 2 million miles. We can compete together.
Oh, no, you win. You win game, set and match. And, of course, all at the back of the plane. As we continue tonight, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I suppose that number of miles will be staying at home. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
As we continue tonight, Europe has followed Wall Street's lead.